I felt like I was spending more time watching other people live than paying attention to my own life. So I started a challenge. For 7 days, I started every morning with 2 hours of creating before consuming.
With the goal of finding a sense of focus like I'm living my own life again. I'm pleased to report that the experiment completely changed my life and I now live in a permanent state of deep focus. No, my life is more or less the same, but a few things did change. The first thing I learned was how shockingly hard it is for me to be confronted with that silence in the morning. I mean, the silence of only having myself and my own thoughts. And by the end of the first week, I realized I have probably been consuming media the wrong way my entire life. But let's take it from the start.
To make room for 2 hours of creating before leaving for work, I had to wake up around 5, which created the first problem. I was tired.
Very tired.
And all I wanted to do was drink coffee and look at my phone. I resisted the temptation and escaped outside as fast as I could. I'd heard that standing barefoot on grass while staring into the sun is the best way to energize your body in the morning. So I tried that, but it was incredibly boring. So we went for a run instead. When we got back home, I had only 1 hour left to create. And I now had a new problem. I had no idea what to create. Staring at a blank page in a silent room was scarier than I could have imagined. Normally, I would fill that void by listening to music or watching videos for inspiration, but now I couldn't. So for a while we just sat there. I said to myself it would be okay to just sit there. I didn't want to force myself to create. Eventually something changed. The guitar seemed like the most interesting thing in the room. For once it wasn't competing with the screen. So I started exploring.
Dreamer today of a place where I can stay.
Later in the evening, when I got back home from work, I couldn't wait to go online again, but in a different way than before. Because now I had questions. While working on the song, I started wondering about things like what song structure do the artists I admire use? And what type of videos do I actually feel inspired by on YouTube? I was genuinely curious. And that's when I noticed something. Restraining from consuming content had created a curiosity gap within me. I had gone from passively consuming to actively searching for specific content to satisfy my curiosity and answer questions. The next morning, I jumped right into songwriting. But then came the real challenge. Summer. A friend called and invited me for a music festival in Gagnef. And I knew I would risk ruining my experiment by going there. But Swedish summers are only about 3 months long, and if I don't enjoy them, I feel like I'm postponing my life until next year. So I said yes, packed my bag and jumped on a train from the central station, telling myself I would keep the experiment going, because why wouldn't I be able to wake up early and do my 2 hours of creating before consuming, after long nights of parties, surrounded by hundreds of drunk people. To be honest, the first night was pretty crazy and I forgot everything about my little experiment. Until the next morning, when I actually managed to crawl out of my bed pretty early before the party started all over again. My journal became the thing that saved the experiment. It was the simplest way I knew to create. No equipment, no setup, no inspiration required, just a pen and a piece of paper and whatever happened to be in my head. Cooking porridge for breakfast became an act of creativity in itself. I thought the challenge would be impossible to continue at the festival. But in reality, it was easier, because here, naturally, each morning started out here in nature. And I had to fix my breakfast in this slow, time-consuming way. So my 2 hours of creating before consuming passed by quickly. When I came back home, I realized there was another problem with the entire experiment. I had treated my phone as if it was the main source of my problem. But almost everything in my life is digital. My music, my films, my writing, even the people I care about partially exist in my phone. I couldn't solve the problem by simply removing the screens for 2 hours each morning. I needed to understand what I was actually trying to protect.
And I think it was this, my own curiosities and my own questions. The problem was never consumption in itself. The problem was starting with it before I had a chance of finding my own perspective. Because then consumption became mindless, directionless, and a source of distraction when it can be a source of inspiration. I have to admit that in the beginning it felt forced to have this block of 2 hours in the morning. But now I realize that unless I schedule time like this for myself, it's not going to come by itself. So if you feel the same, I truly recommend to try something similar and find time to nurture your own perspective and your own world, so to speak, because then spending time in other people's worlds becomes so much more interesting.